your thoughts on Guardians 3.
Guardians 3. So if you guys watched our last episode where we reviewed Secret Invasion, I said I'm done with the MCU. I just don't care anymore. They gave us so much lackluster content that the MCU isn't the same anymore. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is return to formula for the MCU. This felt like the MCU. This is the shit that kept me on for as long as the MCU did since 2008. This movie is the best film the MCU has done since Endgame. Not my favorite. My favorite is No Way Home. This is the best film, in my opinion, that the MCU has done since Endgame.
Yeah.
I absolutely love this movie. James Gunn is an absolute brilliant mastermind. I from his writing, his directing, the cinematography, the camera angles, some of the shots in this movie just blew me away. I can't gush enough about this movie, so I will say the one thing. There's only one thing about this movie that I don't like, and that is the character of Adam Warlock. I don't think it was handled well. I feel like it was almost like Kevin Feige was like, hey, don't forget, like, you did tease Adam Warlock in that post-credit scene of Volume 2, and James Gunn's like, fuck, yeah, that's right, I did. I'll figure something out, you know? And you
make
cast...
him kind of a teenager, like, doesn't know what he's doing.
And that's the other thing. Like, I know Adam Warlock there was this Avengers cartoon, and it was actually while they're fighting Thanos. He actually puts the gauntlet on, like, whole thing, and he's this stoic character, you know, gives these speeches. Like, he has this line that's like, I'm less of a man, but more... I'm gonna fuck it up. It doesn't matter. But he's just this very stoic kind of character. And yes, I know you explained that he was taken out of his cocoon early, and that's why he's childish, and that's fine. But he didn't need to be in this movie. It didn't have to be Adam Warlock, and that's my problem. You don't do that with a character like Adam Warlock. You know, like, if that's what you're going to do with the character, don't have it be Adam Warlock. Have it be some random fucking who gives a fuck. You know what I mean? And that was my only problem with the movie. Not enough to make me dislike the movie, because he has such little part in the movie that it didn't even affect me that much. I'm like, I don't really like what they did, but I can move on from that. Getting Will Poulter, you know, you got Will Poulter, who's a great acter, got him all buffed up for fucking what? For what? What the fuck you buff him up for? He could have been eating Taco Bell. Like, why'd you ruin this man's life?
If we'll say the negatives of the movie, I will start with those like you did. That is one thing for me where that didn't come off well. I was like, I think that the movie is a bit long. It feels long to me, and maybe it's just, you know, headspace where I was at. You know, long day, long movie. I feel like I started watching this movie at 6 and it wasn't over until 10 o'clock at night. Like, it feels long, like a long movie, which is fine to a degree, but it just there's a lot. I think this movie tried to do too much too. Now, again, I love this movie. I thought it was fucking amazing. But on your point with the Adam Warlock thing, I think this movie had too much to tell. To cram into, because I mean, it's basically Rocket's tale. This movie is centered around Rocket, but you've also got the Star-Lord and Gamora. You've got this Adam Warlock thing they're trying to finish up. You've got to introduce the new villain and kill him off at the same time, who's supposed to be a godlike figure to a lot of different species. So there's just you've got like the Nebula thing too, where you're trying to keep her shit going, and then you've got the difference with, you know, Drax, and there's just so much in this movie that it felt like, yes, Adam Warlock's character didn't need to be there. And I was like thinking, okay, he's gonna flip sides and he's gonna kill what's his name, the big bad, and that would be a cool little twist. Like, he was originally helping, and then he comes, and I thought they were gonna have a big fight. And I do like
evolutionary,
I do like that they, you know, subverted expectations to say that. And kind of made it, because you had to have Rocket get his kind of revenge on the situation. And that's what I think the movie just does too much. There's too many things going on in this movie where you're like, by the time you get to wrapping up all these individual things, it's like, holy shit, man, there's so much to tell. Like it loses a little bit, just a little stumble. Like I would say, just that knocks it down maybe a point in a little bit. So I'd give this movie like an 8-9. Not quite a masterpiece, masterfully done of in the MCU's light. I mean, I think there's a lot better, tighter MCU movies. So if you rank this against some of its peers, I think it's a little less. But overall, liked it. Ginty, was there anything that you didn't like about it? Since we're on this little topic train.
No, I mean, honestly, no. I mean, for not liking, I totally get where you guys are coming from, and I get that with Adam Warlock and everything. On my side of it is obviously I didn't know who Adam Warlock was, so I don't know his backstory in this. So the way he was portrayed in this film, it was good. It worked for me. So I followed the movie like the movie was telling me to watch, and I was totally great with that. The only thing that was different from my thought going into the movie, it seemed like from the trailers and everything else and articles from every platform you could fucking imagine, that there was going to be a lot of death in this movie with these main characters from the Guardians, and it didn't happen. And I'm actually glad that didn't happen because we obviously through the years we've grown to love these fucking characters.
Yeah.
So that was one of the main things that.
But low key, you kind of wanted someone to bite it, right?
Yeah,
just like a little bit.
I'm really glad you brought that up because I don't want that to be one of my cons because it's a weird con.
No,
I do feel like somebody should have died because you teased so much death in the film. Not even promotion, not even trailers. In the movie, you're like, oh, he might die. Oh, that person might die. That person might die. And nobody died? Like,
no one died.
All right.
But what I did like was the fact, yes, they played it. They toyed with your emotions about it. But the way they executed not killing him, but there was so much still raw emotion with these characters. I mean, watching Peter Quill, like his emotion with Rocket when he was practically dying on the table, like that was some of the best fucking Peter Quill in the fucking MCU. Period.
This is the best version of Peter Quill we have ever seen.
Oh my god!
In my opinion, is in this fucking movie because Infinity War. I don't like what they did with him in Infinity War. It wasn't even the same. He was he was a ditz. He was fucking shit up. Like it just bothered the shit out of me.
It felt like mid Guardians 1, pre Guardians 2 Peter Quill in Infinity War. Very much like he's not really like, you're like, did you take a step backwards? As a character?
Like what are we doing here?
Yeah, but they had to, like, and I will say that's why I think this movie tried to do too many things, because they try to pull on your emotions by like, are we gonna kill somebody? I don't know, but then they wrap it up in a beautiful way where like the team's
my god,
okay, we're gonna, like, the way they executed it was good, but just none of the other movies did you ever have that like, oh, someone might die thing. This, like, a lot of MCU movies, they don't really touch on like the, oh, he could die, where this whole movie is centered around like, oh, Rocket's gonna die unless they don't do that, like unless they figure this out. And even like when people are getting hurt, like when Drax gets fucking the same type of hole in his chest and in his back, you're like, oh fuck, are they about to kill Drax off? But it's like, nah, we're not gonna don't worry about it. So it's almost like that fake out where it's like, you've never had that like, oh, the heroes are really like in for it now. They might get killed, and then they don't, and you're like, oh, they never really were even in that. Like that's one thing I loved about like the Infinity War saga, where they're like, oh no, Thanos will fucking kill somebody. Like he's gonna kill somebody. Oh, he killed Loki.
Straight up,
and you're like, oh shit. Like, oh man, you start that movie off with him murdering Loki, and you're like, oh shit.
Oh fuck,
this sucks. Yes, everyone's gonna die. Where this one, you're like, oh, Rocket's gonna die, and then you're like, shit, this is the last Guardians. Like they might fucking kill somebody, maybe more than one person. But then you kind of, the movie comes around, and you're like, oh, they were never gonna kill anybody. Like, so it's because it had to do too much, and I thought that they were gonna, like you said, I thought they were gonna send it off with like someone dies and the team kind of just like gets put on hold. But there was like, no, we're just gonna I'll take little
now
little
the
holidays for a little bit.
but now the other part that obviously is like, yeah, I'm stoked that there's going to be something. We'll see something in the future, some point. But even at the end credits, and it even says the last thing you see in the fucking at the end credits is the legendary Star Lord will return.
Yep.
Like,
The legendary Star Lord. I fuck
like
with
wait a minute.
that. I like
Yeah.
that.
I'm like, okay, but if this was so, how's this gonna work now? I mean, this is James Gunn's baby. He's now fucking DC. How
Mhm.
does that work? Are we gonna get that
No, no, James Gunn's
Marvel
done.
DC?
He's done
No,
with the MCU. He
I
said it.
understand
This
that.
is his last Guardian. So we're going to see Star-Lord again, whether it be a solo film of Star-Lord called The Legendary Star-Lord, or he comes back and helps the Avengers, you know? That could be how we see some of
Yeah,
these characters come back, which I think is fine. I think it's fine. And I
Yeah.
also think it's
I
really
mean,
fine that
yeah,
James Gunn is
he is
done
on Earth.
because, like, he did a great
Hmm.
job. You should be done.
Oh, God,
You
yeah.
know? Like, yeah, go ahead. Do whatever you want. You gave us this. Go off. Do whatever you want. And I
Yep.
love how, you know, the characters kind of divide and kind of do their own thing. And one of the best things, one of the best choices that I think James Gunn made in this film, which I can't even get over how amazing I think it is that Star Lord, Peter Quill, and Gamora don't get back together. And I can't believe how beautiful that is. I'm getting goosebumps right now talking about it because any other filmmaker, any other
Would've.
cheesy fucking guy would have been like, yeah, but they get back to no.
They're gonna
No. And the way it
But
ends, like I bet we were fun. It was like you wouldn't believe. And they walk off and
but
I'm like, this is why you're a brilliant
but
filmmaker.
Yeah.
but I think that there was hinting also at the end of the movie where I don't know how it could happen, but I think Gamora might actually start gaining memories of the future slash
Future one,
past.
which I'd hate. I
I would
love
hate
the
that.
I love the
Because
way
I
that
would
they
hate
did
it
it.
so much.
Go ahead. Yeah.
But here's my reason why. Because at the very end, he understood Groot. We understood Groot because that was the whole, okay, now we're a part of this family. And that's why we understood Groot. And that was actually old and given to us. Like, okay, we can understand, he's speaking so we can understand him now because now we are a part of him.
See, I think you're on to something here, but I don't think that it's that she's gaining her memory. It's that she's going through the trials and tribulations. She's going
Like her
through it
arc.
to
Her arc.
the arc
The emotion,
to get there. She's going through the natural
Yes.
arc to get there. I don't think she's gaining these
Yeah.
things, but
Yeah,
she's
to get
going through
to
the arc
become
to
that
actually
Gamora.
exactly.
Because
And
a very
'Cause that's who
lazy,
yeah.
a very shitty screenwriter would have written that in
Absolutely.
somehow. Like she
Yeah.
started remembering thing, and
a lesser
like you said,
filmmaker.
I hadn't thought about that
Me.
until really you brought it up when I was like, yeah, I'm glad that they beautifully did that, and it's such a good message to give to people. Like you can. What does fucking Drax say? He's like, shit. I can't remember the quote he says to him that like sparks Peter's like, oh shit, like you like he lost her. She's gone. You need to move on. You need to
Oh,
figure your own shit out and like just learn to like get over it. And that's
That's real
a lot
shit.
of times to get
That's
into
real
like
shit.
to not get into the semantics of movies. Movies always give you this like the guy gets the girl in the end. But sometimes you don't, man. Sometimes
No.
you lose in life. Sometimes you don't get the things, you don't get the happily ever after. It's not given to you. You have to go get it yourself. You have to figure your shit out. And it's like, you know, if we want to touch on the very last thing, it's like fucking people are too soft and they need to learn how to have a backbone in life. But like that's kind of the shit that it teaches, man. And I really
Yeah.
respect that they did that where it's like, is Peter Quill okay? No, but he's gonna be okay. He's gonna learn to, you know, deal with his own shit, just like all the rest of
Yeah.
the team did. And they,
That's
and
real shit. That's
having
real
her
life shit. It's so...
having Mantis go off and be like, "No, I can't have you go with me. I need to." I was basically a slave to I'm terrible with character names.
Ego.
Yeah.
To Ego.
Yeah, Drax
And then
was
I
trying to
came
go
here and I
with
was
her,
just-
and she's like,
and I was just-
no, but a lesser filmmaker would have been like, and Drax is going to go off with Mantis, and they're going to go on
off because they make a good pair. And
James Gunn
leave the door open for
most
other
brilliant filmmakers of our time.
Okay, now I just
honestly.
thought about this. Now I just thought about it this way. If he was so good at making this ending to wrapping up the Guardians of the Galaxy, why the fuck couldn't he do this with the DCU? Why the fuck didn't he pull the trigger on Flash and be like, let's shut the door on things?
The Flash was
Because
already... They spent so much money on it already that they would really... In order for James Gunn to fix it, he's not one to Band-Aid shit. Like, they would have to scrap it and let James Gunn write it and direct. Because that's another thing. He writes the movies that he directs. He doesn't use other people's scripts. So he's not going to go in and try to fix this, you know? So he's just... He should... I wish he did. Because I bet he would have pulled it off. But that's just not the kind of man he is. You know? So I get it. It makes sense to why... That's why I still have that faith with the DCU. Because James
I do now
Gunn
only
does
because of the
shit
way
like
he just
this.
just the way that this one was pulled off. And again, it's not a perfect movie. I think there's a couple flaws. It's too bloated. It feels too bloated. There's a lot going on, but just the way, like, you could cut a little bit of this stuff out, like the whole thing where they go back to the whole set piece where they're fighting the in to get the code off the guy. Save Rocket, but he's not even there in the end. Like, that whole section could probably go. Like, it was a long ass like set piece that could use a little bit of a trimming around the edges of that movie. But
it was nice to see Nathan Fillion.
I did like that. But
God. And I
there's
love
also
that
a lot,
he's
too.
always using his friend, like the people that he's worked with before. He loves to bring them into his movies, and like some filmmakers who do that it does tend to annoy me. But for some reason, when James Gunn does it, I'm like, no, like, because you utilize. It's not just Nathan Fillion's here just to be Nathan Fillion. Like, no, he came in and played this character great, and I love that whole scene. Like, he's the boss's son. He's like, oh yeah, I got one of those.
I got one of them too.
Yeah. I love that, but again, I think that there's just too much in that whole thing. Like, I remember, like, whenever I start thinking in a movie, like, outside of the movie, I think that's when it's like, okay, because I'm like, okay, what are we doing in this whole, like, bureaucracy, like, big white hallway? Like, what are we doing here? We've been here for like 10 minutes of this movie. Like, 10% of this runtime is just spent here doing shit. And I get it's like a character development moment, because between him and Gamora and him and that other girl and like Drax, and like, it's just weird though. That whole like 20 minutes of the movie was like, when are we leaving this area? When are they leaving this whole place?
I can see that.
But I could also see James Gunn being like, you know what, fuck it, leave it in. That's my last one. I'm out.
That's what I was actually going to say. I feel like it is bloated like this because this was James Gunn's last one. So he's like, everything I've ever wanted to do, I got to get it done in this film because I'm out. I'm out of here. So let me try to cram it all in. And I think
it suffers
for somebody
a little bit
trying
from
to
it,
cram all that stuff in, I think he pulled it off the best way you could. Because, again, a lesser filmmaker, that would have been it would have made the movie garbage. You know, it would have been a mess. Yeah. But I think he pulled it being bloated off as well as anyone possibly could. You know, but I do also agree. But yeah, man, he was trying to do a lot. He was trying to do a lot in this last film. Yeah. But I mean, guys, this movie, I'm gonna admit this to the world. I cried twice. Tears hit my cheek twice during this fucking movie, and it was.
I got emotional.
Yeah, and it was when when Mantis said you weren't meant to be a destroyer. You know, you were meant to be a father.
Yeah,
and I was like, how fucking dare you? Like, how dare you?
Fuck you, Mantis.
And then the last scene that really hit me was when he goes back and sees his grandfather. I was a blubbering mess. I was like, like I was just I was falling apart, man.
My fiance cried at the obvious when his friends get murdered. When
Oh, that
Rocket's,
sucked.
Oh
man.
my god!
But like I was like,
Keith
you
and
saw that
Floor and
happening. I was like,
Lila.
as soon as you saw
yeah.
them, I'm like, oh, they're all dead. Like,
Yeah, because
and
you
I
don't
said it
hear
out
from
loud.
them now.
Like, they're all
Yeah.
dead.
You know it. You know,
And
but
even
it's
like
the execution. You know, because
Yeah.
she probably had that somewhere in her head. Like, I don't know if they're gonna make it through this, but it's the
yeah, like,
execution of like the way
Yeah.
way Rocket breaks he lets out this belch, like this
Yeah.
scream,
Oh my
and it's like
God.
so powerful. You're like, you feel the. I just. I don't know.
I think the
I don't know
most
how this man
emotional
does it.
part. I think the most emotional part for me was when he first gets like put in the cage, and like they're all talking, and then he goes hurt, and I'm like, oh man, fuck you, man! Don't make animals talk. That's the worst.
If you
don't make
love
them stay hurt.
animals,
Yeah.
this movie's gonna
Yeah.
hurt you.
Yeah, it's
This
tough.
movie's gonna hurt
Even
you.
just earlier,
But
I was talking to my fiance, and she's like, I'm still a little sad about that movie. I can't believe I watched that. And I was like, yeah, you've done a lot of growing in the last 2 years with me about like getting over that, because she's been horrible when it comes. Anytime there's an animal in a movie, she just looks at me like, if I've seen it or anything, she just gives me that look like, they're not gonna fucking kill that animal, are they? And I'll be like, I don't know, because she'll just be like, I'm not watching this, and she'll just leave. Like, shit, what movie was it? Oh, you know, it wasn't even a movie. It was Netflix. The You Don't Fuck with Cats. Did you ever see that?
No.
Oh man, there's a documentary called "You Don't Fuck with Cats," and
Yeah,
it
I've heard of
spins
it.
off into this crazy story. But it starts off with it's the viral video of the guy putting a cat in the microwave, which it doesn't show it because they're not going to show that. But the whole thing starts with this guy doing that on a live stream, and everyone freaks out, obviously, and like they try to hunt him down. And I won't spoil anything else because it gets way crazier than that. But he doesn't do anything crazier than that. But like, well, he does, but not to animals. But it starts with that, and that's the first 5 minutes. And she's like, "I'm not watching this." And I'm like, "No, just I promise they don't show it. They don't say.
They won't do it again. They won't do it again. They did it the one time.
It's just like 10 seconds of like you have to just listen to what they're saying about it." And she's like, "No, I'm not watching it." I'm like, Jesus Christ. But no, it's a tough. I got choked up, and I'm pretty hard to get choked up over that type of shit, because I know why they do it in movies. I always know why they fuck with animals in movies, because everybody fucking gets mad. like,
Yes.
What's the saddest part in I Am Legend?
Right.
When all the people in New York died from that disease. Jesus Christ, guys, come on. You're talking about millions and millions and millions of people.
That shit didn't phase anybody.
Marley.
No. It's the dog. When he
Killed the
fucking
dog,
kills
they're
his
like,
dog,
wait a
everyone
minute.
is upset. Yeah, but you're like, wait a minute, didn't like 9 million people just die in the beginning of this movie? You're like, yeah, fuck those people.
It's not as tragic as when the dog died.
Yeah.
But another really powerful moment from Guardians was obviously when Rocket, and he's going back, and he goes and sees the animals, and he goes and finds all the raccoons, and he's looking, and he reads the plaque, and he's like, and he realizes, fuck, I am a raccoon.
Yeah.
He had he honestly didn't know what he was.
Yeah.
Never knew. I'm not a raccoon. And then finally, and then at the end, like, and when the guy's yelling, the high evolutionary's yelling P189 whatever, and he's like,
Revolutionary was always yelling.
Rocket Raccoon. And I was like, there it is.
Yeah.
And I love the subtle, like, I love the subtle comedy that James Gunn does. And one of the subtle comedic things that he does is when they call a rocket the wrong species, but he doesn't like
Badger.
hone in on it too much. You know,
Looking
he
for
won't,
that badger.
like it'll just be a one-off, and like the dialogue keeps going. They don't pause
it
to let
doesn't
you
pause
laugh,
to
but
be
you're
like,
like,
boom,
this
boom.
motherfucker. Yeah, like this motherfucker just called it, like Sylvester Stallone. Yeah, he called him the wrong species, but it didn't like
He calls him a badger.
Yeah.
No, I another great one is when Kraglin calls Cosmo a bad dog.
Oh yeah, that was great. When he calls him a good dog, that was another moment. I was like, I'm not letting the tear come out. She's a good dog. I was like,
Oh my god! Yeah,
I feel like I'm
and
too emotional
she's a
watching
good
this
dog.
already.
Even when the Russian military knew that I wasn't coming back and I would screw up the mission, I was not a bad dog then. I'm not a bad dog. It's
Yeah.
so good. Oh, I messaged you, Josh, while I was watching it because I forgot if you had seen it, Ginty, or not. But I remember I watched you. I love the usage of the F word in that because it's PG-13 and they can get away with one F word. That was my favorite
Open the
line.
fucking door!
It's like, press the button. Now what I do? Open the fucking door. I'm like, oh my God.
I did
What
one
a
of those
perfect
laughs where I couldn't catch my breath.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I've laughed that hard at an MCU movie ever. I've laughed a lot. There's
Yeah.
been hysterical, but when he
That
said,
might
I
be-
wasn't expecting it, he opened the fucking door. I was like, I
Oh.
just couldn't
Yeah.
catch my breath.
And I love it's not really super overemphasized. He just goes, open the fucking door. You're like,
It's so genuine because you feel his frustration. Like, yeah, open the fucking door. Like, what are you doing?
Well,
Like-
I mean, he screams it, but he's muffled because he's in the car and they
Yeah.
do it from outside, looking in
Perfect.
at the window, and it's
absolutely
like, oh my
perfect.
god,
That might be the best usage of the fuck word in a PG-13 movie.
chef's
Absolutely.
kiss.
It
Ever.
has to be.
Oh,
and
man.
James Gunn has a quote that he said that I saw not long ago where he said, I wasn't given the MCU's first F-bomb. I took it. And I was like,
Yeah.
I bet you did. I bet there was no conversation. They were probably reading the script. Kevin Feige's like, all right, like you do
Yeah,
get one.
there it is. You do get one. So I will kind of wrap us up a little bit by saying that is this the Guardians is the second best trilogy in the MCU. Best, I would say it's not the best trilogy, but it's the best actual legitimate trilogy. Second best trilogy. Because this one, I think that the only one better is technically it kind of cheats. So I would say that number 4, because there's 4 trilogies, I believe, in the inside the MCU. And that's Thor. Thor actually has fucking
Yep.
4
Iron Man.
movies. Iron Man,
Captain America,
Captain America,
and the
Guardians.
Avengers.
But they're not actually 1, 2, 3. So if we
Right.
do count the Avengers movies,
Avengers is
Avengers 4, right?
No,
if we
it's-
count those, it's kind of a part
Those
1,
three.
part 2. If there's kind of
Well,
a part
there's-
1, part 2, because it's
Depends
Avengers,
how you look
Age
at
of
it.
Ultron, Infinity War, and Endgame.
okay.
So, all right,
yeah,
there's
it's
5.
4.
So this would be the third best one then, in my opinion. I think it's
Okay.
Thor at number 5, Iron Man at number 3, Guardians,
Okay, so
Avengers,
So
and
we
Captain America.
we have on some of our bonus topics some of our favorite trilogies, and I think that would be a really
save
good
this?
time to talk about it because I honestly
Ooh.
don't know because I didn't like Volume 2.
Okay.
I've seen it maybe twice.
All right.
I wasn't
Okay,
a
so then
fan of
let's table
Guardians
it.
Volume. I don't
Let's-
hate it,
let's-
but
All right, let's table it then.
that'd be an
We'll
interesting
table it.
conversation to dive into at some point.
Yeah.
I like
'Cause
that
I-
you brought
I feel-
that up. Yeah.
I feel like I could, because I was thinking about that. I was like, is this the best trilogy? Like, pure trilogy? But we'll get to that. Well, that'll be a table talk because we're already at an hour, over an hour, because I
Oh,
forgot
yeah.
to hit
Well,
record on my
yeah.
audio. So there's that.
Hey,
Sorry,
that's
Josh.
all right. That's all good.
I can tell you when it is. It was after the first segment. I looked down and I was like, I'm not recording my audio because I recorded it. It doesn't matter. This is
It
side
doesn't
back
matter.
talk, but
All right. Well, then I'll get
Inside
rid of my
baseball.
audio.
Yeah, this is afterthoughts talk.
yeah.
But I'm trying to think if there's anything like last things I want to
Of the
say
movie,
about
yeah.
Volume 3. There's just
I love the music choices. I love the
thank you,
overarching
thank
music
you.
choice.
I like the way it
How-
starts.
yes.
The creep.
How
I'm a creep.
So it
it's
starts-
like,
and
James
it's a
Gunn,
cover,
man.
and it's a cover version of it too.
yeah. I like that.
Oh,
If
it
you
was
start
so
with volume
good.
1, you start with volume 1, you've got 70s, and then volume 2 moves into the 80s, and then volume 3 wraps up with 90s and early
90s and 2000s. Yeah.
Plot
It's
hole.
good.
Plot hole, though, I was thinking about right after I saw the movie. How the fuck does he have 2000s music on his fucking Zune thing? How?
Just
How does
gotta-
he have that? He
He's
shouldn't.
been finding it. He's been scouring.
No,
it.
no, 'cause-
maybe,
no,
maybe,
no,
yeah,
no,
maybe he's
'cause
been scouring for
no,
it.
because at the end of volume 2, Kraglin gave that to him.
Oh yeah, and he goes.
He
"There's
said
music."
he picked it up and gave that Zune to him.
Yeah, and he goes.
Did
There's
he?
like
Okay.
200 songs.
Yeah.
See, I've only seen
He's
the
like, on this
second one
little thing?
maybe twice. I don't remember. Okay. All right, so
Yeah.
scratch that then. Oh, that makes me feel better.
There you go.
Learn
It makes
something
me
new
feel,
every day.
but yeah, that is another thing that
more
James
you know.
Gunn does so well was the music usage. And then I will say also, because I did shit on Adam Warlock so much, and I do want to say that his introduction I think was fire when he shows up and he just handles the Guardians.
Yep.
Fire. Like, I was so excited to see what they did with him, and then but I also think his redemption at the end was like, why did you save me? And Jackson's like, well, everyone deserves a second chance. And then he goes out and saves Peter. Like, I did like all that. So I like the beginning and the end of Adam Warlock, but everything in the middle is where I was like, this is garbage. So I don't want to shit on it too much.
I thought it was more of like a comic relief. I enjoyed it. My perspective, I enjoyed it because it was like little comedic filler for me.
Yeah,
No.
but a comedic filler in a movie that's full of comedic fillers. You know, we don't really need the comic relief in a movie that has.
Can we talk about
the
post credit scene with fucking gigantic Groot?
Oh God!
Oh my God!
Ginormous.
I mean, so we already fell in love with Swole Groot.
Yeah.
Now we got gigantic Groot.
Yeah.
Do you guys feel this way too? Groot was kind of underused in this movie.
Yeah, I love. I do love the joke. I do love the joke when he goes, "Kaiju Groot." And he's like, "No, Kaiju Groot." And he just grows super.
Or when they're like, they ask Mantis, "Why can't you touch him and like make him feel good?" And the Groot goes, "I am Groot," and they're like, "Oh no, that's not what we mean." But I do feel like he was super underutilized. But like when he had his moments, they were fire. But it's kind of like we didn't. I don't know. There wasn't a lot, but there's a lot going on. So
if you wrap it to like, think of it this way: like the MCU's always kind of done a good job with this, and especially with the Infinity War Endgame, like flip flop, they give everybody their moment. You know, like I had watched. I had just got done watching or talking about Endgame with a friend. And I was like, I really kind of hate the way that they did Thor in that movie. In Endgame, he really was just fat and like, he got his ass kicked and he was just kind of there.
I plead the fifth because we'll go on for another 45 minutes if I get in there.
I'll just wrap it up by saying I went back like probably then like 6 months later and just when it was snowing and it was a shitty day and I was like, you know what? I got 6.5 hours to kill. I'll just watch Infinity War Endgame. And while watching Infinity War, I was like, that's why they made him a dope in the second one, because he was a fucking boss in Infinity War. Like, I forgot how, like, just OP he was in the Infinity War version. Like, I just had forgotten.
If you're holding Stormbreaker and Mjolnir,
Okay, he gets a redemption. I get it.
It doesn't matter how fucking I'll go off. I'll go the fuck off. I'll get aggravated and mad, and no one wants that.
So, yeah. I think that's basically our thoughts on
that
Guardians
should do
3.
it.
Oh yeah.
Oh hey, look at you! You made it to the end of the video. Well, if you like what you saw, be sure to hit that like button. Also, hit that subscribe button. Should be over here, I hope. Also, check out some of the other videos we have on the channel right over here. Do it. Click the video. Click the video. Dude.